In a distant future, society has turned its back on the Avengers, and, well, now they need them more than ever. Can Steve Rogers rally the troops one last time? Let's find out in Avengers Twilight. Welcome back to Comics Are Dope. I'm BJ Kicks, and this is my review of Avengers Twilight. This is a 6-issue miniseries written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Daniel Acuna, and the trade paperback for this series is due out on August 27th in the direct market. I'll make sure I leave links to pre-order it in the description down below, but I have to give a huge shout out to the good folks at Marvel Comics for sending over all 6 issues of this book ahead of the trade paperback release so that I could review this story for you guys. So huge thanks to Marvel. And now let's get into Avengers Twilight. Now, the way I would describe this story is basically as like the last Avengers story. And we've had a lot of famous last stories in comics over the years. Perhaps the most famous example being The Dark Knight Returns, the Batman classic by Frank Miller and Klaus Janson. In more recent years, we've had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin, or even something like Spider-Man Reign, which I reviewed in the community post on this channel. So check that out from last week. But we have these stories in like the distant future where something happened, the superheroes aren't active anymore, but something compels them into action. So in this story, it's about old man Steve Rogers, Captain America. There was an event some undetermined amount of time ago that basically gave the society a huge reason not to trust the Avengers. And so superhero activity largely stopped, and the order being kept by them basically gave way to an authoritarian rule. The government controls everything. The military roam the streets keeping order. And, wealthy people in cahoots with the government run all of the media and therefore the propaganda. And so we have again traded freedom for whether it's convenience or, calm or whatever we want to call that. But ultimately, this is not the America that Steve Rogers knows and loves. And when certain things are happening, when certain bits of information are getting out there, Steve Rogers comes out of the shadows to challenge it, to challenge the ideas of one James Stark, a second or third generation Stark that we know of. He's the son of Tony Stark and someone else that you might know. And, he's out there singing the praises of other authoritarian regimes and talking about all the ways that peace needs to be kept. And Steve Rogers firmly disagrees. And like I said, he just kind of doesn't recognize the America that he's come to live in. But oh well, what can we do about that? Now, there is a sort of swelling resistance underground, resisting the commands and the overall order that's being established by this authoritarian government. And Steve Rogers gets called into action to join this band of resistance. And, well, then that sets him on a path to try to reassemble the Avengers and make America great again. And that sets him on a path to reassemble the Avengers and try to get back to an America that he once knew and loved. So a really, really cool story, and I can't say much more than that. I promise you I've only covered issue 1. But I can't really say much more because this is an out-of-continuity story. And so every page, every event, every person in this book could kind of be considered a spoiler. Now, I do have to let you know, or I do have to shout out the amazing art by Daniel Acuna. I don't think I had seen any art by Daniel Acuna before this series, but I tell you what, after this series, I am absolutely checking for him. The page compositions are amazing. The style, like I think he does the coloring and everything. And I assume it's all digital, but it all looks really, really good. I'm showing you pages that I can show you that I feel like don't spoil things too badly, but I gotta say, the art is top notch and the story is really good. So ultimately, what are my thoughts on the story? Well, this is a story about, I don't know, man, cross-generational divides. It's a story about the price of freedom, the true price of freedom. It's a political suspense thriller. in a lot of ways, and it's a high action blockbuster event in a lot of ways. Like, there are events in this book that to some are going to feel like straight ripped out of the headlines. It's going to feel very poignant and relevant to today. And I guess for some that'll be amazing, and for some that won't be as amazing. For me, I was like, yo, that is crazy. And it was even crazier when I read in the interview that Chip Zdarsky wrote this book like 5 years ago, and it's just now coming out. So I'm like, yo, that's insane that this book predates some of the stuff that you would think was an inspiration. But all that to say, I really, really loved this book. I also love how accessible it is. Now, if you've never read an Avengers book, this is one that you can pick up. If all you know are like the first two Avengers movies, which I like Age of Ultron, and fight me if you don't like Age of Ultron. But if all you know are those first two movies, you know enough to enjoy this book. There are some characters that don't appear in the MCU until later. There are some characters that don't appear in the MCU at all. But really, really great stuff. I love that anybody can jump into this. It's a 6-issue series, so it's a very quick read. And it's also really fast paced. It's not crazy dense. It's action packed. It's suspenseful. I think the first few issues are pretty exposition heavy, or at least the first two are. But after that, once we finally get our marching orders, we are off to the races. And every page is full of like an oh shoot moment. Every issue has a character reveal that you're like, oh snap, this is amazing. And like I said, the art by Daniel Acuna is amazing. I said amazing too many times. It's awesome the entire time. Honestly, if I had to rate this series on the whole, I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10. I really, really enjoyed it. It probably gets my highest recommendations. It's one of the best Avengers stories that I've ever read. And like I said, it was quick and it was fun. And I think that's what you want comics to be. And just the way that they walk that tightrope between high action blockbuster set pieces and really straightforward, like political and social themes is like, I don't know how they fit all that in an entertaining package, but they did. And the series is great because of it. So I highly recommend you pick this up. The pre-order link is down below. This book will be out on the direct market on August 27th. So you should definitely pre-order it and let me know what you think of it in the comments down below. But that's going to do it for my review. And I'll see you guys in another one real soon. Until then, stay safe, stay awesome, and read something dope today. Peace.